Have you ever wanted to start a podcast and just didn't know where to go to get your journey started? Well, look no further than Anchor Podcasting. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast, and it gives you everything you need for free in one spot, which you can use right from your computer or a mobile device if you need to record on the go. Creation tools allow you to edit and record your podcast to make it sound the best possible way for your audience and listeners. And they'll also distribute your podcast for you, so you don't have to go through the hassle of talking to different platforms in order to get your podcast through to everybody you wish. This includes Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and many more. You can easily make money through Anchor Podcasting, and it doesn't require minimum listenership. So once you get started and set up, money can flow in from all directions. So if you're ready to get started, download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR.fm to get your ball rolling and start your podcast journey. All right, guys, we're back for part 2 of episode 44. And what a better number, UFC 244 predictions on the second part of the podcast. Such a good card, just top to bottom, even on the prelims. Just back and forth fights, really, really good matchmaking. And the co-main event and the main event are some of the best fights you'll ever see, I believe. And let's get into it without any further ado. So we're going to start out with some prelims. I didn't put every fight down to predict because there's a lot of fights. You know, it's the UFC card in Madison Square Garden, New York. The cards are always stacked. UFC 230 was kind of like it wasn't that good of a card, but 244, man, they're coming out guns blazing. First fight up is going to be in the middleweight division. Brad Tavares versus Edmund Shabazian. I know Shabazian undefeated 9-0. Brad Tavares has a record of 17 wins, 5 losses. Shabazian's really high on the prospect list for the middleweight division. And Tavares he's always been a really good fighter. Obviously, he's lost to guys like Israel Adesanya and Robert Whittaker, but he's always been, a gamer. He comes to fight, he gets in your face, and he tries to rough you up and knock you out, but he can fight technical as well. I'm going to pick Brad Tavares to upset Edmund Shabazian here. I think Shabazian can definitely hurt him on the feet, but I think Brad Tavares is just a little bit too experienced for him, and I think he's going to be able to grind him out and get a decision victory. Up next, a fight in the featherweight division. We've got the Hurricane Shane Burgos versus Makwan Amirkhani, Mr. Finland. This is an amazing fight for 145 pounds. 2 of the top prospects in the division going up against each other to move themselves up the rankings and really catapult themselves into top contention. Even the top 10. I'm pretty sure that Shane Burgos might be in the top 10. He might be ranked like 11 or 12, but I know he's right there. He's on the brink. He lost to Kelvin Cater, but Burgos is coming off a good win over Killer Cub Swanson, where he basically just roughed him up the whole entire time. I'm not exactly sure what fight card that took place on, but he just basically outboxed him for the full 15 minutes, and which is a good feat. That's a really tough thing to do because that's what Swanson comes to do is box. He's one of the best things he does is box. He's not really much of a kicker. He'll throw kicks. And, he's a really good grappler, a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but Swanson's more of a, just throws his hands, tries to knock you out and put you to sleep. Obviously, Swanson coming off a good win, a pretty good showing against Crone Gracie about 2 weeks ago at the, UFC Fight Night, not Boston, the one right before this. What the heck? What card was that at? Let me check. I just want to make sure I get this right. Let's see. Cub. Sorry, guys. Just give me 1 second so I can look this up for you. But yeah, this card's amazing, and I can't wait to see it. Definitely one of the best cards of the year. And this was at UFC Fight Night 161 in Tampa. Okay, yeah, it was the fight card in Tampa, Florida. But yeah, so Burgos and Makwan. So here's the thing about this fight. So Burgos doesn't really kick too much. He's more of a boxer. Makwan Amirkhani is a very good grappler, but he'll use everything he can on his feet at his disposal. I would say that Makwan is probably the more reckless out of the two. I think Burgos is more laid back and technical. He likes to hide behind that jab, throw some low kicks, and just use really crisp boxing. Nothing he throws has a windup on it. It's all just straight punches down the center line and back to the face. Just bop, 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 bop. It's not like like winging the punches. You never see him throw wild shots. It's always picking you apart, keeping you at a distance. Bop, bop, pick you apart. Bop, 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 move around. And I think that he's going to be able to do this against Makwan Amirkhani. I think Burgos has obviously the crisper, cleaner strikes. If Makwan can turn this into like a crazy brawl, I know Makwan's technical as well, and he has good submission. He's got a good ground game. I feel like if it goes to the ground, Makwan Amirkhani definitely has the advantage, but I think that Burgos is going to be able to keep Makwan at a distance, and if he wants to, can get into clinch range and try to rough him up in the clinch. But I see Burgos winning this fight. I'm going to go via decision. I think Makwan's tough. I think he'll be able to hang in there. This is going to be probably be one of the fights of the night, but a lot of the fights on this card are amazing. But I just think Burgos is the cleaner, crisper boxer, and the more he has a higher fight IQ in my opinion, and I think you're going to see that in this fight, and he's just going to be able to pick him apart. But it will be a great fight. I'm sure it'll be close, and I can't wait to see it. Let's see what we got next. All right. This should be on the main card, and it's not. It got moved to the prelims. In the lightweight division, we have Kelvin Lee returning after a brief stint at 170 pounds against Rafael dos Anjos in a losing effort to go up against the gift, Gregor Gillespie. Gregor Gillespie undefeated, 13 wins, no losses. Kelvin Lee 17-4, but the losses on his record, he's lost to Tony Ferguson, Ally Quinta twice, and Rafael dos Anjos at 170 pounds. If there's guys you want to lose to, RDA and Tony Ferguson are probably two of the guys you want on that losing side of your record. Gregor Gillespie. Excuse me, I got a tickle in my throat. Gregor Gillespie is an amazing wrestler. I was looking up some of his amateur wrestling highlights and some of his NCAA, wrestling highlights, and this guy is unbelievable. There's a reason he's undefeated. It's kind of like Khabib 2.0. He just takes you down at will, ground and pounds you, but he can also strike on the feet. Kelvin Lee is a very well-rounded fighter all the way around. He's got good striking and really good kicks. I feel like his kicks to the body and kicks to the head from a southpaw stance could give Gregor Gillespie a little bit of trouble, but you have to watch out when you throw kicks against a guy like Gregor Gillespie because he can time them. He can grab a single leg off your kick and transition it into a double leg takedown. He can grab the single leg, pick it up at the knee, turn and dump you, or he could push you up against the fence as you try to kick and work in a takedown through there with trips and other things like that. This is a really tough fight to call and one of the best fights on the card without a doubt. On the feet, like I said, I think Kelvin Lee has more power, and I think he's the cleaner striker. The only thing that worries me in this fight is Kelvin Lee's gas tank. We saw him in the 5-round fight get, tired after just pushing a pace in the wrestling department against Rafael dos Anjos. And if you're going to get tired with the wrestling grind, Gregor Gillespie is a guy you don't want to do that against because he will just push you. He will drag you into the deep waters. He'll soften you up on the feet with some strikes. He doesn't have bad striking on the feet either. He has a very good left hook and good kicks as well. He's powerful, but I feel like the grappling is going to be able to tire Kelvin Lee out. And you know what? Even then, Kelvin Lee's an amazing grappler as well. This is going to be a close fight on the ground. Don't think Gillespie's going to just run right through him. This is going to be a tough fight either way. But I think Gregor Gillespie is going to be able to just out-wrestle him. I think it'll be early on in the fight in the first round. It'll be very close. I could see Kelvin Lee winning the first round by being able to stop some of the grappling exchanges, sprawl and brawl, and probably pick him apart on the feet. If it stays on the feet, it's Kelvin Lee's fight to win all day, but I don't see it happening. I see Gregor Gillespie, like I said, just pushing the pace, pushing Kelvin Lee up against the fence with grabbing a single leg or catching a kick and taking him down, working some ground and pound, and I think he gets the decision. I don't see him finishing Kelvin Lee, but I see Gregor Gillespie, the gift, Gregor Gillespie getting a unanimous decision over Kelvin Lee and improving to 14-0. Kelvin Lee needs this win bad. I feel like He was one of the brightest prospects at 155 pounds, tried to go up to welterweight against RDA, didn't really work out too well for him, and he needs this win bad, but I don't think he gets it. Gregor Gillespie. Up next, we've got a heavyweight fight between the number 5 ranked Derek the Black Beast Lewis and the number 8 ranked Blagoy Baga Ivanov. Ivanov has a record of 17 wins, 2 losses, 1 no contest. The Black Beast, Derek Lewis, has a record of 21 wins, 7 losses. Lewis coming off a loss to, I believe it was Alistair Overeem that he fought last. Didn't Overeem finish Derek Lewis? And then he lost to Daniel Cormier. Let's see. I'm pretty sure it was Overeem that finished him, and it was a pretty early fight. Let's see. I just want to check this for you guys. Oh, no, okay. It was Junior Dos Santos, not Alistair Overeem. So JDS, first round knockout, and then he lost to Daniel Cormier via rear naked choke at UFC 230, which was at Madison Square Garden as well. Blagoy Ivanov's a good fighter. I think, obviously, 17-2, 1 no contest. It's no easy feat to get that good of a record in professional mixed martial arts. But I just think Derek Lewis hits too freaking hard. He hits too fucking hard for Blagoy. I think he's going to catch him. I think it'll be a stalemate early, like maybe in the first 1 or 2 minutes of the first round. And then I just think Derek Lewis is just going to push forward, maybe get him up against the fence, back to the fence, and just land a bomb, drop Blagoy, and finish him via TKO. I'm going to say end of the first round, TKO for Derek the Black Beast Lewis. And he needs this win, so I hope he gets it. Up next, another one of my top fights look forward to on the card. In the welterweight division, we have the number 8 ranked Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus the silent assassin Vicente Luque, number 14 in the division. This is an amazing fight. Really, really good matchmaking here. And it's really tough to call because Stephen Thompson, obviously, he's coming off that loss to Anthony Showtime Pettis at the UFC Fight Night in Nashville. He was piecing him up in the first round with just really good, he's a karate-based striker. He likes to switch his stances a lot, but he likes to stand in a sideways stance. So normally when you fight, you're going to have your knee pointed forward or a little bit out to the side if your opponent's good at throwing kicks so you could check him. Stephen Thompson has a more karate-based style. So he stands sideways and he just is light on the feet and he's in and he's out and he's in and he's out and he's side to side. And then he darts in with his straight right hand or darts in with the straight left hand. He throws a lot of lead roundhouse kicks. That's one thing Vicente Luque is going to have to look out for is the lead side kick to the body off the front leg and the lead roundhouse kick off the front leg. That's probably one of Stephen Thompson's best techniques is with that lead leg. That's usually how he keeps people at bay is that he just sticks that lead leg out there, gets you to freeze up, and then comes forward with his right hand, darts in, cuts the angle off to the side, and just picks you apart with his feet. He can throw his feet and his legs just as much as he can his hands. And this could be a problem. Vicente Luque, 16 wins, 6 losses, 1 no contest. The record may not sound too good, but he's a fantastic fighter. He's a very well-rounded mixed martial artist all around. I would say the more well-rounded fighter out of the two is Vicente Luque. He's got very good boxing. His striking on the feet is good. A very good check left hook. As an opponent comes in and throws a shot, he'll usually cover up on that left side and counter with the left hook. He did it to Bilal Muhammad as he tried to throw a roundhouse kick to his leg. He threw a shot. Vicente Luque covered up. He went to throw a leg kick, and Luque countered with the lead left hook and dropped him. He knocked out Chad Laprice with the lead left hook. He knocked out a couple other dudes, I think, too. I was just watching some of his highlights to refresh. Luque has really good kicks, but I would venture to say he's not going to want to engage in the kicking game against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson because that's his bread and butter. On the ground, he's a really good Brazilian jiu-jitsu artist. He has a very good Darce and Anaconda choke. He gets the Darce choke a lot. I believe he has 2 or 3 finishes via Darce choke, and he gets the Anaconda too. He fought Nico Price a little while ago. I didn't remember this fight happening, but he hurt him against the fence and dropped him. And as he dropped him, he locked in the Darce choke against the fence and rolled over with it and locked it up for the submission win. So a Darce and an Anaconda choke. Okay, let's say somebody shoots in for a takedown. You stuff the head. You're going to take, if you're going to do an Anaconda choke, you're going to grab the head and the arm with like a gable grip or something, and you're going to pull it to one side. You're going to pull it all the way over to the one side, and the arm and the side that the arm is on, you're going to take your arm, go underneath. Actually, wait, hold on. If we're doing Anaconda choke, you're going to, sorry, I had a little brain fart there. So they shoot him for a takedown. You're going to stuff the head. You're on top of him. You're going to take, usually it's going to be your right hand because that's going to be the one on the side, the opposite side of the head. You're going to go underneath. You're going to grab your bicep. So you go under the throat with the arm. So you have the head and the arm in between or in your right arm in the grip. You're going to grab your left bicep. You're going to take your left hand and you're going to put it on their back or put it on your shoulder. It would usually be on their back because, it's not a rear naked choke, but it could be kind of like a little bit the same grip. You're going to grab that and you're going to roll into they call it a gator roll. So you're going to grab and you're going to roll onto the shoulder and you're going to walk your legs forward towards their stomach and their legs. So when you walk your legs forward and you have the choke, it's going to make the choke tighter, kind of like an anaconda. That's why it's called the Anaconda choke. So you lock that up with the head and the arm and you walk forward. And the closer you walk, the tighter the choke gets. And usually they either pass out or they go to sleep. Luca is very good at this. But Stephen Thompson is so hard to solve on the feet. I think Vicente Luque can do it. If not, I see this kind of playing out the same way the Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and Jorge Masvidal fight did at UFC 217, where Masvidal can land a few good shots as he tries to close the distance, but also he's going to get picked apart at range and just get countered. I'm going to pick Vicente Luque to get the win here. I think he's a very, very talented fighter. He's the more well-rounded out of the two, I would say. And I think he's going to be able to I could see him parrying a side kick from Stephen Thompson and countering it with a left hook if he can lunge in. Or I could see him just closing the distance as he tries to throw a kick and roughing him up in clinch range. But Vicente Luque is definitely a good fighter. Stephen Thompson can definitely get the win here if he can point fight and keep him at a distance like he always does. But I'm going to go Vicente Luque to get the finish in the third round via TKO. I think he's going to move in to range on one of Stephen Thompson's kick, crowd him, and either land that left hook or that overhand right and land a few more shots and drop him and get the TKO. So yes, Vicente Luque by third round TKO. Up next, light heavyweight division, we've got Corey Beastin 25-8 Anderson versus Johnny Walker, the number 7 versus the number 10 ranked fighter. Corey Anderson obviously trains with Mark Henry, and that has made his footwork and his boxing just that much crisper. Johnny Walker is a madman. He will come out, throw flying knees, spinning roundhouse kicks, hook kicks, shoot for takedowns, jump in the air and throw, he's knocked out. He knocked out somebody with a flying knee. I can't remember who it was, but he comes out guns blazing. And I think this is going to be trouble for a guy like Corey Anderson. Anderson's an amazing fighter. He's obviously proven it with wins over guys like Alir Latifi and Glover Teixeira. But I think Johnny Walker's just that new breed of fighter who's going to be able to come in and blow the doors off the light heavyweight division. And I think Walker's going to get a first-round TKO here. I think he comes out wild and just bum rushes Corey Anderson right away and gets a first-round knockout. And also in this division, you've got Johnny Walker, Alexander Rakic, who is fighting soon, I believe. I'm pretty sure he's fighting in one of the fight nights coming up. He's another really good prospect in the division, and so is Dominic Reyes. So Dominic Reyes, Johnny Walker, and Alexander Rakic, those are your top prospects in the light heavyweight division. Obviously, you still have a guy like Anthony Lionheart-Smith, who I could see getting another fight with John Jones, but we have to see how this plays out. But yeah, I'm going Johnny Walker to starch Corey Anderson in the first round, improving to 18-3. Now we go to the co-main event. My most look forward to fight on the card. The number 4 ranked middleweight contender coming off a loss in a 5-round war against Israel Adesanya at UFC 236 for the interim middleweight championship of the world, Kelvin Gastelum, versus the number 9 ranked welterweight moving up to 185 pounds, Darren the Gorilla Till. Formerly undefeated at 17 wins. At 17 wins He was 17-0, and then he suffered 2 back-to-back defeats. He lost via second round Darce choke to Tyron Woodley, and I believe it was a third round knockout over against Jorge Masvidal. But this fight's going to be amazing. And you know what? This fight really boils down to, can Kelvin Gastelum use the wrestling against a guy as big as Darren Till? I do believe he can wrestle him. He's got the better wrestling out of the two. And can Darren Till keep Kelvin at a distance without getting picked apart with that vicious straight left hand? Here's the thing. Kelvin Gastelum is the better boxer. He doesn't really throw a whole lot of kicks, elbows, or knees. He's more primarily loose, really loose, moving light on the feet, circling, and then he whips in with that right hook, straight left hand. Whop, 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 whop. And that's usually what he does. That's his bread and butter combination. He did it against Bisping, where he threw like a jab. Bisping tried to counter with the right hand. Gastelum pulled back, threw a right hook, straight left, or more of like an overhand left, but you get my point. Bop, pop, and caught Bisping on the chin and knocked him out cold. If Kelvin lands on your chin, he can put you to sleep. He can put anybody to sleep at that 185-pound weight class. But with a guy like Darren Till, I could see him taking the approach of the Stephen Thompson fight, where he beat Stephen Wonderboy Thompson at UFC Liverpool. I think we could see a similar game plan with Till. And I watched his open workouts a couple days ago, and he was focusing a lot on throwing knees up the middle and just vicious left hands, right hooks to the body, right uppercuts. The lead uppercut, the lead knee, and the rear knee up the middle are going to be the attacks he wants to use against the shorter Kelvin Gastelum. Gastelum's going to be a lot shorter than Till. Till is obviously the more technical striker out of the two, but Gastelum is just so crisp and so loose with his hands that he can easily counter him and catch him. He likes to slip on the inside and throw that overhand left, or throw that right hook to the overhand left. And Darren Till likes to do this as well. He uses that right lead uppercut to the straight left hand. Not that good with the lead uppercut straight right left hand like, Conor McGregor is, but he likes to use that a lot. He likes to use uppercuts. It's usually a lead uppercut. He doesn't really throw rear uppercuts and then just that straight left. But I think in this fight, we're going to see a more composed and a more mixed martial arts kickboxing approach from a guy like Darren Till. I think he's going to expect Kelvin to shoot in on him, and I think that's why he's working on those knees up the middle, because if Kelvin's shorter and he goes to shoot in, he can time him with those uppercuts and the knees up the center, and then usually angle off and counter with that straight left hand that he uses to drop a lot of his opponents with. I think he's going to be refreshed in this division. I think we're going to see the best Darren Till we've seen. This is a very tough and dangerous fight for a guy like Darren Till. For your first fight at middleweight to be against Kelvin Gastelum, who's ranked number 4, it shows that you're confident in your ability. And I think that Darren Till is going to be able to get the job done here. I think he'll have a few scares. I think Gastelum's going to be able to land a few times and hurt him, but I think Till's going to be able to keep him at a distance by using that pawing lead hand, that lead right hand, and that straight left down the center and the knees up the middle if Gastelum goes to close the distance. I could also see him playing a heavy clinch game in this fight. I think you have to look out for the elbows over the top of Darren Till and the knees. The elbows, the knees, and the uppercuts are probably going to be his best bet to victory here. And I could also see him using like a lead side kick to the knee like he did against Stephen Thompson. But I'm not 100% sure he's going to focus too much on kicks because Kelvin could catch him and take him down. But I'm going to go Darren Till to I'm going to say he gets the finish here. I know it's a bold call, but I'm going to say Darren Till is going to get a third round TKO over Kelvin Gastelum, and then maybe he fights Israel Adesanya next. Darren Till versus Israel Adesanya? Are you kidding me? Sign me up for that right now. Now, the main event for the baddest motherfucker on the planet in a 5-round fight in the welterweight division, the number 3 ranked Jorge Gamebred Masvidal versus the number 6 ranked Nate Diaz. Jorge Masvidal has a record of 33 wins and 13 losses. Nate Diaz, 20 wins, 11 losses. This is going to be an amazing fight. It's a fight the fans have wanted to see ever since Nate Diaz called out Jorge Masvidal after his win over Anthony Pettis at UFC 241. Nate Diaz looked amazing in that fight. He used a lot more knees from the clinch. That was one of the biggest differences I saw from Nate Diaz. He looked the best he's ever looked, and he also used It wasn't a traditional clinch where you put your palm on the back of the neck. It was more of a I can't think of the name of the position, but it's almost like, what is it called? Where you get the head and the arm in the clinch and you pull it off to the side to throw knees. You can either throw it if you have a back clinch with your opponent's chest and stomach towards the cage, and you're really good with like dexterity in your legs, you can throw knees to the head from that position. Nate Diaz did that, and that position I can't think of with the clinch where he pulled his head off to the side and landed some good knees, ripped good shots to the body against the fence, and really just pushed the pace. The key for Nate Diaz in this fight is going to be to use his jab and his 1-2 and just push a pace and constantly keep pushing forward on a guy like Masvidal. I think he can tire him out, especially since this is a 5-round fight. I think he can push forward in the first 2 rounds, tire out Masvidal, and maybe finish him via submission in the 3rd or 4th round of the fight. But for a guy like Masvidal, I think the key for him is going to be blasting the lead leg of Nate Diaz. He did check kicks, though. In the fight against Pettis, he was able to check a lot of the kicks to the leg and to the body, which showed his overall like maturation as an MMA fighter. He never used to check kicks. That was his biggest weakness. And Diaz did that a lot against Anthony Pettis. I think Masvidal is going to come out and look for a more conservative approach against a guy like Nate Diaz, and I think Diaz is going to try to push the pace. I think people are expecting Masvidal to come out and just try to bum rush and take out Nate. I don't see that happening. I think Gamebred's going to stay composed and try to, like, for the first couple rounds and then try to pick him apart. And I think Nate's just going to push forward and try to put the pressure on him and tire him out. This is such a tough fight to call, and it really could go either way. I'm leaning towards, I don't even know, man. I'm going to lean towards, I'm going to pick Masvidal. I was big on Diaz before I started the podcast, but just something about how Masvidal has really grown. In that Darren Till fight, he did get dropped, but we saw how he was able to switch stances seamlessly, where he was in like a southpaw. He switched back to orthodox and then back to southpaw right away. Or no, you know what? He was in orthodox. He like threw an overhand switch to southpaw and then came back into the regular stance and countered him and landed on Till's chin. I think we're going to see a lot of stance switching from Masvidal. I think he's going to try to attack the lead leg. I think Diaz will win. If it goes later, it's going to be Nate Diaz putting on the pressure and piecing up Masvidal. If it ends early, it's because Masvidal knocked out Nate Diaz. And I just think, oh man, I know I said Masvidal. I really don't know, guys. This is such a tough fight. You know what? No, I'm going to change my pick. I'm going to pick Nate Diaz. I never really go back on my picks, but it's not official until I post it. So I'm going to say Nate Diaz. I think he's just going to be able to put a pace and pressure on Masvidal that Masvidal isn't used to. I think he's going to push forward, just get in his face, push him up against the fence, tire him out. I would say like the Damian Maia game plan, but Maia didn't try to strike at all. He just really tried to grapple. But I could see Nate Diaz just getting up in the clinch, ripping hooks to the body. He liked to throw. He threw a really good lead uppercut, which it had no power on it, but it was just in the clinch, and it just shows how comfortable he is in that boxing style of stance where like you'll shoulder roll and throw the uppercut against the, like when you're close to the opponent, you'll push him off with the shoulder, throw the uppercut, roll underneath and get away. I think Masvidal wins the first round. I think Masvidal probably wins the second round. Nate Diaz comes on strong towards the end of the second, kind of like the McGregor rematch where he just pushed the pace later and later. I think he pieces him up third round. I think Diaz comes in fourth round. Masvidal is probably going to be exhausted, and I think I'm going to say Nate Diaz is going to finish him via submission. I'm going to say rear naked choke submission for Nate Diaz in the fourth round. This is going to be an amazing fight, and I can't wait to see it. I hope you guys enjoyed my predictions for the card. That's how I see it playing out. If you want to, give me your predictions or your analysis, you can hit me up at Armbar Nation 316 on Twitter or Glorious MANDM on Instagram. And definitely, let me know what you think. send me messages, whatever, but I can't wait. UFC 244, it's going down November 2nd at Madison Square Garden. If you guys want to support the podcast, post it on your social media, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever you got, send it to your, if you know fans of MMA or you train MMA, give it to your coaches, your training partners, your friends. Post it on anything you got. If you know any fighters who are fighting on the card, definitely get it out to them. I just need you guys to help me grow this podcast. We have to grow it over and over. You can donate if you would like. I'm not asking for that, though. And just help me grow the podcast, guys. I need you guys to help me grow if you want it to keep going. We've got to push forward and keep growing as a in the podcast community. So that's it for today, guys. I'm your host, Double M. This has been episode 44 of the Touch 'em Up podcast, and I'm out. Have a good night, everybody.